right, it is the 7 o'clock hour, and we are live on YouTube and Zoom, so we can go ahead and get started.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. The December 10th, 2025 meeting of the Rockbridge County Planning Commission. Roll call. Commission member Sabrizi.
Here.
Commission member Kramer is absent. Commission member Sandridge.
Present.
Commission member Whitmore.
Here.
Commission member Beebe is here as well. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar, the link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raised hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. This time we'll proceed with the meeting. This is the citizen comment period of the meeting. Is there anyone physically present to speak?
There is no one that has signed up.
If anyone would like to use the Zoom feature for citizen comments, please raise your hand. Use the raise your hand feature now. Not seeing any, turn the floor back over the chair. Excuse me.
Okay. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes, and do I have a motion to approve or modify them or anything?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Unanimous with those present. Okay, board reports. Staff, can you please tell us about what's happened in the last little bit?
Since the November 12th Planning Commission meeting, there have been no Board of Supervisors action on PC recommendations. The Tourism Corridor Overlay Board did meet on December 3rd and reviewed the Haisha LLC Wish Wash Route 11 car wash plan. That's the property that is would be just north of Magnolia Square across from Cornerstone, and that plan was approved. That's a 3-bay, pretty much all automatic car wash facility there. And then on November 5th, the TCO did meet, and they did deny the Dunham Sports sign. That's the wall sign proposal. And Dunham's has indicated that they plan to appeal that. So we're waiting word on that. There was a BZA meeting on November the 19th. That was their required annual organizational meeting. There had not been a need for the BZA to meet during the 2025 calendar year. So they did meet with that to set their schedule for 2026, and they'll remain on the third Wednesday of the month of each month as needed there. The Community Development Committee met on November 17th and discussed kind of a wrap up of the November 12th Planning Commission meeting and some of the other ongoing topics, the solar ordinance and things that the Planning Commission is looking at. And their next meeting is on Monday, December 15th.
Can I ask a question about the, this is curiosity, on the Dunham Sports, and what was the rationale for the, too big, too high?
Well, essentially what it is, it's not the lettering per se, but it's what they are calling the facade or the surround, which is essentially an architectural improvement or alteration, if you will. They meet the requirement after scaling it down for their lettering, but it's the additional border surround that the TCO felt could be adjusted for size and also for appearance, because it's backed with a galvanized sheeting that almost comes across as like a whitish look at some point. And they felt that could be toned down in relation to the other tenants in Stonewall Square.
And the appeal is to the BZA, is that right?
No, the appeal will go to the Board of Supervisors. per ordinance.
Okay.
And at this time, that's all the board.
Thank you, Neil. At this time, we'll do the first item on the agenda, John and Christine Fix, public hearing application for a conditional zoning map amendment. The application is to conditionally rezone a 12.44 acre portion of property from the general residential R1 district to the residential mixed R2 zoning district with the acceptance of proffers. Chris?
That's correct. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with a very brief staff presentation and then turn the floor over to the Fralin team. Property under consideration is owned by John and Christina Fix. The property is identified as 62-14-A2 and consists of 18.94 acres per tax records. The entire property is highlighted in magenta there on the screen. The application pertains to a 12.44 acre portion of the property. RP Fralin Incorporated is the contract purchaser of the 12.44 acre portion. The property, the 12.44 acre portion of the property is located on the west side of North Lee Highway, Route 11, of course, approximately 0.26 miles west of the intersection of North Lee Highway and Northwind Lane. The property is accessed by Northwind Lane. Northwind Lane is a private road owned by Mountain View Brewery, LLC. Of course, we know it as DBA Devil's Backbone itself. As far as the surrounding zoning go, the property is located in the general residential zoning district with conditions, accepted proffers. Felt to be beneficial to have a brief review of the recent history of the property. On August 23rd, 1999, the Board of Supervisors approved a rezoning application from the agricultural and general use districts, the A2 zoning district, and the general business B1 zoning district to the residential district, general residential R1 zoning district, with the acceptance of proffers to develop a 70-unit multifamily project. On April 23rd, 2007, the Board of Supervisors approved a proffer amendment to provide for 3 residential lots along Valley Pike, further identified as Route 645, and a maintenance facility, a maintenance building for the multifamily project. At that time, it should be noted, at that time of the 1999 rezoning and the follow-up 2007 proffer amendment, the mixed residential, the R2 zoning district, was not in existence at that time. Back before, I think it was 2009-ish, we only had one residential zoning district. That's, of course, a general residential zoning district, and that provided from everything from single family, two family to multifamily townhome projects or apartment complexes, if you will. Again, the current application is rezone 12.44 acre portion of the property from R1 with conditions to the R2 zone, which is residential mixed zoning district, with the acceptance of proffers, i.e. a conditional rezoning to develop in phases a 192 multifamily apartment project. Current proffers include that the property be developed in general conformance with the concept plan shown on the right of the screen, and the buildings to be constructed in general conformance with the architectural styles depicted in what we're calling Exhibit C and D. They're shown on the left side of the screen. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Robert Fralin of RP Fralin Incorporated to review the project details. And okay, but at that time, I'll turn the landowner, Mr. Fix. Mr. John Fix, come on up, sir.
As Chris had mentioned, in '99, I went through this whole process and got approval for 70 units with the promise of more if I needed it. The economy went the wrong way, so I never did anything with the property. And the property, through probably a lot of tax money, is already set up for multifamily. There's an 8-inch sewer line, a 6-inch water line, 3-phase power, access to Route 11. Everything is there. All the runoff can go down into Mill Creek. There's not a better piece of property than I know of in Rockbridge County that's set up for this type of development. I'm hoping Mr. Fralin does a good job. We'll have some very nice apartments. My biggest thing is it's going to be a nice tax base for the county. we need that here. We need good housing for young professionals and factory workers to be able to stay here in the county because they have a place to live instead of them moving away. I don't see any negative to this at all. It's nothing more than what I was going to do in 99, except just on a bigger scale, which I would have had a bigger scale as well over time. I think he's got three, well, it's gone now. I think he's got 3 phases. So he will be building these a little bit at a time. I'm assuming he would build them once they start filling up, and he'll build the next stage. I just don't see a negative to this at all. And if we have a good fiscally responsible board, and I think we do, they'll be able to use this tax base to help lower all of our taxes so that we don't have to spend so much money in real estate taxes. Y'all have any questions for me?
Oh, let's let Mr. Or Frail and party speak first, and then we'll ask questions as a group. How's that sound? Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your service. And we've done a lot of this, and we know that your time commitments are large, and thanks. This is an important part of local government. So thank you. I'm Robert Fralin. Happy holidays to you. Thanks for being here with us tonight. I have a very brief introduction. Very quick story. I started this business in 1999. I worked for my dad in a different business. Against everybody's logic, I left, and I built one speculative home in Northeast Roanoke County. I lost $5,000, and I decided to make a career out of it. Wynn, who I'll introduce, it will give a full presentation of who we are today. I am proud of who we are today. Most of it didn't come from me. We've hired wonderful people, and we purposely wanted to bring some of them here for you to meet them. They'll speak more than I. First of all, I want to introduce Wynn Overstreet. She is, we'll call her an operations liaison. She's run our management business. She's running sales in the home building business right now. She's helping with production. So she's really a COO type. Secondly, Brian McCahill has been with us now for 10 years. Brian's an equity owner. We got together and 10 years ago and worked out an agreement. Brian, the best thing about Brian is his integrity. It was just, I knew it from the beginning. And we had gotten to a size where I needed help, and I needed competent help. And so Brian has been there to do that. His title is COO, but he's also an owner. And I look forward to you getting to know him in a minute. Also is Andrew Folsom here. He's with Engineering Concepts Incorporated. Any technical questions that you might have, traffic, water, sewer, grading, erosion and sediment control, any of the things, he's here for that. We want to make sure we were prepared. And then I don't really have anything else. Wynn will give the presentation after Brian introduces himself. But I really would love you to ask any questions that you might have. There is no bad question. We're here open book. We'd like to answer them. We would be extremely happy to be here. We'd be honored to be here. We know there are other developers that would like to be here, and we're lucky to be the one at the podium today. So any questions you have, we'd like to know them. Okay. So Brian, you want to say hello?
Good evening. My name is Brian McCahill. As Robert said, I'm the COO. I've been with the company for 10 years. Manage our finances, banking, pricing, market analytics, that sort of thing. Pretty much whatever needs to be done. It's been fun growing the business with Robert, growing the team, and really excited to come to Rockbridge County and provide affordable and quality housing, market rate, for the community here. You guys have experienced a lot of growth. We've read about all the jobs coming, and I think we could do a really good job for you. So hope we have that opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.
I am not the head of IT at the company. I'll tell you that much. Perfect. Open down. All right, got it. All right. Well, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff, for having us tonight. And I will try to hit the high points and go through this clearly but briefly. Feel free to hold your questions. Feel free to stop me along the way. All right, so the concept. We traditionally build and plan to in this project 3-story, 24-unit garden-style apartments. This design has served us very well to provide a maximum unit count, but also keep our sites clean and friendly to our tenants. These buildings are a mix of 15 2-bedroom and 9 1-bedroom apartment units. This project is planned in several phases, and which is typically how we design. Lets us build, lets us get people in there, and then lets us build the second phase as we continue to grow. We're looking for a full build out of 192 units as it's planned today. Our proposed proffers. The property shall be developed in general conformance with the submitted concept plan from Engineering Concepts dated November 13th, 2025. The building will be constructed in general conformance with the exterior architectural styles depicted on either exhibits C or D.
What makes the determining factor on
Exteriors.
which style you choose?
Some of it may depend
Cost.
on the rezoning. Sometimes it's character that works with the surrounding community.
This area, obviously, this area is obviously very historic and has a brick sort of feel to it. However, we're in Rockbridge County out in the, by the Devil's Backbone. We thought the other look, which is more of a craftsman look, may be more compelling with nature. So we wanted the option to do either one. We're not wed to either one, and there really is no significant cost difference between the two. We built them both.
Which one is Covington? Is it one of those
That's
two?
the one that's brick. We have one in Botetourt County called Fieldstone that is more of the craftsman style.
Yeah, the craftsman,
one called Aspen.
it's not our purview, I don't believe, but the softer
Like
look
that better.
appears better for me, but that's not our purview. So keep going.
We
Sorry
appreciate
sorry
it.
about
Yeah.
that. I got off
Comments
track.
and feedback along the way.
Yeah, because the last thing we want is any kind of doubt about anything. I mean,
Mhm.
we may not be able to give you an answer that you wish for, but we'll give it to you, whatever the truth is.
All right. I'm gonna really amend the slide. So comprehensive plan. Essentially, you all know the comprehensive plan much better than I. But this application serves the purpose of the comprehensive plan, allows us to provide more housing for your growing community. All right, here's the fun part. This is what I really talk about. Who are we? So RP Friendly, we're a well-established local real estate developer with approximately 44 employees. We continue to grow our team and very proud that I get to participate in hiring and helping them to serve our tenants and our homeowners, depending on what side of the business. We were founded by Robert P. Franklin in 1999. I always love his first house story as a home builder, and have since regionally expanded into a multifaceted commercial and residential developer. Our real estate acquisition, land development, and building expertise has enabled us to be a proud member of both the business and nonprofit community in the region. We're personally committed to all of our communities, approach every project with the goal of making it something for which we can all be proud. Our mission to our customers and our employees to provide quality and value to our clients with integrity, to foster an atmosphere where we all grow professionally and personally. And I can definitely attest that that is true every single day. Key stats, started in 1999, we built over 2,500 homes. We own and manage about 1,340 homes and apartments across our different locations. And we own and manage over 1,000 square feet of office space. We've completed many third-party contract projects, and we have 44 employees, and then that excludes all of our subcontractors who, of course, exponentially grow that number as they do a lot of great work for us. This is just kind of a regional overview of our footprint, where we are currently, where we hope to add. with this project. Next couple of slides give some testimonials from tenants that have lived with us across many different communities, complimenting properties, our staff, responsiveness, maintenance. We definitely try to address each and every one fairly and making sure that they are taken care of as members of the community and tenants of ours. Our Freeland Associates Property Management, over 1,300 residents under management. It's a mix of apartment homes, townhomes, and single family homes. And then this is just another view of our apartment community specifically with some pins, and then how we have grown over the years. When I started in 2020, I had no idea that I would get to participate in the property management side of things. I started with our home building business in September of 2020, and it has been a great journey, and I'm really happy to be able to impact new communities and our current tenants. When I started in property management, I have a background in management, retail management, so I've gotten to serve businesses in a completely different way. COVID actually led me to start working in real estate when Mr. Freeland gave me a chance, September 6th of 2020, and came into that. And in 2023, I got a call from Robert that said, you got to come run our property management business. I had kind of dabbled on the fringe of that. And since that time, we have completely rebooted that part of the business. We have doubled our staff. We have completely reevaluated our systems, which is giving us an opportunity to reach even further in scope and provide housing. I think that the need crept up upon us as a nation. And so we're trying to catch up pretty quickly to be able to meet that need. Our apartment homes, this is pretty consistent of what we build today and what we would build in this project. So 9-foot ceilings, luxury vinyl plank flooring. I'm sure you see it in a lot of new construction properties. It's a great product. We do offer quartz countertops in the kitchens, stainless steel appliances, lighting, ceiling fans, all the good stuff. Here's some other views of the kitchen, bedroom, laundry in the unit, and then typical layout. So 1 bedroom span 750 to 770 square feet, 2 bedrooms 1109 to 1125 square feet. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. I'm sure everybody's seen this, but
The colors, the 3 phases, which one goes first, second, third?
that is a great question. Andrew. Orange.
Mhm.
I knew there'd be a question you needed to answer.
Yeah, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Andrew Folsom with Engineering Concepts. As we were just talking about, the first phase, the first 72 units would be in red. The next 72 units plus the clubhouse is in blue, and then the remaining 48 would be in orange.
Clubhouse is built in the second phase.
Yes, sir.
Are those the presentations? Because this would be a good time for us to ask questions of all the participants, gentlemen. Anybody have any questions?
You know what?
Tony, why don't you start?
I just really, Chris and I talked at length this afternoon, and we were a little bit rushed, so I'll ask him to help out. But questions on the Northwind Lane access. I mean, you don't own that, or
Correct.
it's owned by Devil's Backbone, I guess. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Has there been any conversations? And because, I mean, obviously there's going to be maintenance concerns with it and traffic concerns. And that would also say, you know, with VDOT, I mean, I like the fact that it's empty and out onto Route 11, but I'm not VDOT. So has there been conversations with?
Yes, so we have reviewed plats. It has been platted as a for public use. There is an existing access easement that connects to Northwind Lane from the property, which we would intend to connect to with our entrance. And were you wanting to know about some of the traffic stuff in regards to VDOT?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know if
also-
they would have any concerns that all of a sudden now a private lane that has access, I think, 2 houses and Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, I'll step here.
This question is something we've had along the way in the title search. Mr. Fix might be able to address some of this, but it's a lot of title search. It's a lot of moving parts. And the basic bottom line is Mr. Shoup, who I don't know if you know that name, but he put this right away in place in 1938. And it serves to the benefit of all the properties, and no property should have individual access or rights to use it. InBev knew that. They built their road. We will have to build ours, which will be about the same size coming to our property. We have our title people have reached out to InBev. I don't think there's going to be any issue as to working with them. They can't stop us, and we certainly wouldn't and couldn't stop them. It's just, we just need to share fairly the costs of maintaining the road. Obviously, they've been using it a lot longer than we have. They won't be using our road because they have no need for it, so they should not share in the cost of that. But that's just going to be a private thing, and legally, there's no obstacle there. But we do need to get a fair agreement together with them. Does that help?
Yeah, that part there, yeah. In talking to Chris, it seemed like that's something that's yet to be worked out, but.
Yeah,
but
and
it
by the way,
will-
I
it
don't
will-
think InBev owns the right of way. I think
Okay.
it's an easement that's not owned by any party.
But
It's
the VDOT question, I guess, I don't know, this is because it's a private lane right now, the kind of traffic that you're gonna generate onto Route 11, does it need a light there now or?
He's got all those numbers.
I can speak to all of
Okay.
it. So in 99, I went through little hell to get this approved. I had VDOT, I had the school system, Large Service Authority, everybody had questions. Can this handle it? Can it handle it? And everything was just knocked down. VDOT, I have a letter from Jim White, you guys remember him, and he said there's no problem whatsoever with traffic. And the existing road that was built at that time actually met VDOT standards, and that they would take over that as a state maintenance road once it was being used by more than just one person. Now, I don't know what has changed as far as their rules go, as far as taking over and all that, so that may never happen, but the road, North Wind Lane, was built to state specs at the time. Traffic was not a problem. VDOT knocked that away. The school system, everybody's like, oh, there's gonna be 700,000 kids living there in these 70 apartments. And Central School couldn't handle it. And the school system showed up and said, no, there's no problem at all. Everything was put in place at the time in 99. Everything was fine. This is no different. It's just more apartments, probably quicker than I would have built them because I'm one little person. But there was no nothing knocked down, drag out, like, no, you can't do this because the system can't handle it. So I don't know what they found with research, but when I bought that land from Ranger Associates, they gave me a right of way from my property all the way to Route 11 on North Wind Lane. Because at the time, they owned North Wind Lane and they could give me anything that I wanted. Since then, a lot of things have changed. Anheuser-Busch now owns Devil's Backbone. So you got to deal with the big company in St. Louis as opposed to a little guy. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. They're anxious to have somebody else help to maintain North Wind Lane. And maybe in the future, the actual state would take over. I don't know if they're going to go with that or not. But
I think, Tony, you're going to talk about transportation, VDOT, and the traffic,
Well,
which is something I think more importantly than the private transaction is VDOT's going to address it and approve it and put their stamp on what is appropriate.
Thank you
For
Mr.
that
Fix, the
interest.
history.
Yeah.
I think also Andrew's license to talk about actual real numbers, trips per day, what VDOT requires because of those trips, if we make those thresholds and those types of things, which I think is half of your question.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's a
to
good
me,
question.
one of the things that when we're making a land use recommendation,
Yeah.
traffic is one of the things that's got to consider, and
Right.
this changes the traffic down that lane, and I'm just,
It does.
however you can address it,
Sure.
There could be uncertainty. I got it. I'm okay with that.
So we did
Yeah.
take a look at the existing traffic that's currently there from the brewery, the distribution center, and then what would be proposed with this project. And since from a VDOT's perspective, since it is a private lane, they're concerned with the intersection at Route 11. So we looked at, first thing was sight distance. There is adequate sight distance, left and right. We also looked at turning maneuvers, so right turn lane and left turn lane. There currently exists a turn lane and taper on both the right turn, so the southbound lane, and then also on the northbound lane for a left turn. When we brought all those numbers together, we did not see where there was any need for an increase. There was no warrant for any additional taper link or storage for either turn lane. And then furthermore, we looked at the trip for whether or not you need a traffic impact analysis. We were under the thresholds for all of that. So at this point, I have actually sent this to VDOT. They have reviewed it preliminarily. You know, this is still early in the stages, so it's preliminary data. But as of now, we have looked at that intersection and it appears to be adequate for what's existing plus what would be
You can't
proposed.
cross the median there, can you? Can you go straight?
Yes, you
across?
can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just add, per the Code of Virginia, I think we Rockbridge County have 10 days to send this type of rezoning to VDOT. So we obviously did that with a memo explaining it, provided the concept plans. I had a follow-up conversation with the resident engineer, and he reported the same thing with the left turn lane, the taper lanes going in, that type of thing. I think they legally have 45 days to respond per the Code of Virginia, and I haven't received any formal comments, but I've had 2 conversations with the resident engineer about this particular project.
Chris, I mean, you know, based on our conversation, is there anything else? I mean, you answered most of the things that I was there. Is there anything else you felt in our conversation that?
Not that I can recall, as far as the unanswered questions, that is.
Well, and things that maybe the rest of the commission might.
No,
need to-
not if I recall correctly, you had sent the questions prior to the receiving the agenda material. And I think the agenda material addressed the majority of the questions. A lot of them pertaining to the proffers, what is actually proffered, that type of thing.
Yeah, and again, I'm going back, and Chris and I talked about this, you know, we're making a land use decision here. And I guess I do have a little concern that we make a land use decision, we're not going to go back later and change it back to the way it was. It's going to stay this way, regardless of how the progress goes.
Sure.
So there's a few comments. I know that there's been a lot of talk about affordable housing, and you're trying to address that. Got it. Good. Also, another thing that they address, and something maybe you all want to think about, is daycare. Now you talk about clubhouse. I don't know if that can double as the daycare. Again, this is not decision. I'm pontificating here a little bit. Sorry about that. And the following thing is and gets to me is that, you know, Lexington, you're probably well aware of the Spotswood Lane situation in Lexington. Are you aware of that at
I'm
all?
personally not.
I mean, it sounds like to me, from what I gather from reading over the time, it was basically the kinds of rent you could get out of the apartments was not enough to justify your construction costs and all that. Now, some of that's changed, but again, I'm worried that the goal of affordable housing in this area, you know, could get in the way. But I mean, I don't need you to address it. I said, at this point, it's things that I thought about in reading your overall plans, and it's not going to be part of my decision right here. So.
And to clarify, that was the previously discussed Spotswood Drive, not anything associated with Fralin.
No, it had nothing to do with it. It was just another situation. Sounds very similar the way it was maybe a couple of years ago on that property, and it never did come to fruition. And they're talking now, I think the paper this last week talked about reopening that to try to get somebody to put something on that property. I'm done.
Just a few questions. So no, I think this is a much needed project. It seems like a good location. Just curious, it's kind of a random question. So If you all were to rent these apartments today, what would the affordable rent be? Just curious. Not today. I know it's going to take several years to even get into phase one, but what's considered affordable in this market?
Our rents range from starting at $950 right now in Allegheny County to $1,650 in Christiansburg. It's probably our highest. Here we have $1,150 to $1,350 is what we think. We don't have a magic wand, and we want you to know that we do market studies. We pay a lot of money for them. We think it's worth it, and we've done a market study here. The reason we only want to do 72 is because that's what we know the market will absorb according to our study. I would like nothing more to be in the 900 range and be able to come out. And to your point, we have to command certain rents with the construction costs. And you know, we are not the highest dollar luxury apartment developer. We are middle of the road. It's nice. It's got good countertops, quartz, high ceilings, but we don't do the luxury ultra elevators, marble, you know, all the fancy stuff. And so the demand here, we believe, it's right down the middle of what's needed here. And I was a participant on a housing summit not long ago at the Horse Center, and it became even more clear to me that this type of housing is needed here. And so obviously we're going to make, if we are approved by you and subsequently the Board of Supervisors, a huge financial bet, and we're prepared to do it. And we've done our homework, and we're going to start slow, and then we're going to do the second phase right after it. And we typically build that way. A lot of developers build, I'm sort of rambling on, I'm sorry, but a lot of developers will do 150 units and they do them all at once. We as a prototype, and these guys have been part of it, we'll do 72, stabilize, and then do another 72. It's just a more prudent way for us to go forward.
On average in your market, how quick do you get to full occupancy? Because I know you shock it at different areas. So
The fastest we've done was the first one I did at what's called North Point, and we had that pre-lease before we opened it. I think it was about 72 units. Which we're getting ready to open one in Harrisonburg. We don't have one lease yet, but we just started marketing it. That's always a scary time for redevelopment.
Harrisonburg's blowing up with that stuff. So
Yeah. Which one? How long, Brian? Did Allegheny County took a minute, but it was on target. We had to wait a few months before we were stabilized. Yeah. Who was it? Big Dave on the radio? Yeah, he was great. So we just marketed it a little more there.
I've seen the Covington driving by it. I mean, how does that compare to this?
That's 96 units.
Okay.
And I loved the people there were just absolutely tremendous. They're just good people. We did great there. We had a subsidy there, and we couldn't make the numbers work without it. And it was just tough. And so the rents are just a little bit lower, but there's tons of demand if we can get to that price point, and we did. And there are 96 units there. This is a little bit bigger area. It feeds also from, as you know better than I do, Stanton and Central Virginia, and then Roanoke is not far. And then really to the east, Lynchburg's not that far. So, there's just a lot of, and then 64 and 81, we like that, the connection there.
You never driven the roads between here and Lynchburg.
Yeah.
It's a lot farther than the crow flies, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have as a fun day.
Yeah.
With my wife. Yeah.
Another question, a development this size, well, you have them all over. Do you have like a centralized maintenance staff, or, something like this, you would think you would need at least one permanent full-time employee? I mean, even if stuff's new, as renting, people don't treat it as if they're their own. So I'm sure stuff needs maintenance quicker than you would think.
Right. And then, we talked about this interestingly the other day about like how would we service this, and what we would do is put a person or maybe 1.5 full-time equivalents, or maybe even 2, between here, Harrisonburg, and Allegheny County. So we operate regionally. That's just how we, and listen, I'm the first to tell you, I don't always make the best decision, but what we do is we like everyone to start at our office. We want to lay eyes on them. We want to shake their hand. We want to say hi to them. We want them to finish there. It costs us extra money. We know that, but we believe in collaboration and teamwork and staying together. And so we don't think we would change that protocol. I think we'd still start in our office. We just spend an hour and a half on average in faraway places on the road that we normally wouldn't, but we think it's a good trade. If for nothing else, it's the team building part of it. We all start right there at 8 a.m.
So you have your own maintenance division.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We just hired a guy today.
Okay.
Great young man.
It looks like, I'm not familiar with the track, but from an aerial view, it looks like it's wooded, probably second or third growth, small timber, I would imagine. But so for the development, you would clear everything. What about, and that'll come later in site plans, but what's your landscaping plan? I mean, it looks like the buildings are pretty tight. You all typically go in and do a typical cookie cutter landscaping plan, or?
Well, again, I don't want to bring any like salesmanship to you. Is it Whitmore? Is that how you pronounce it? Mr. Whitmore? We do the standard landscaping in all of our developments. We have never had a complaint about it, but I don't know of anything special. Andrew would know better than I do the actual plants that we put there. But yeah, we do landscape, and most of that's dictated by code. But we've never, except when we do buffers and stuff like that, we've never gone above code. We're certainly willing to do it.
Okay.
But yeah.
And I'll leave you alone, but the last thing is, you mentioned subsidy, or I know the county has applied for a grant with a VWIP. Is that the right
I believe so, yes.
program? Do you know the value of that grant application, and does your project hinge on this?
The longevity of the project, the amount of units we think we can build in total does matter. I don't want to bore you and get you involved with something you're maybe not interested in, but interest rates have everything to do with multifamily housing. And, 1%, 100 basis point interest rate is a killer. I mean, it really hurts. 100 basis point reduction really helps. So a lot of that depends on interest rates. We love this area. We think it's going to long-term, yes, our returns might be a little lower, but we believe in it long-term. I mean, the economic players better than we do, but what is the new company, the data storage cooler, Mobadan? Yeah, that's coming in. I'm sure you know way more about it than we do. Obviously, WNL and VMI aren't going anywhere. The Horse Center's not going anywhere. But yes, we have applied for the Youngkins grant for housing. I guess the grant is, the way we understand it, is put in place to inspire people like us to invest in these communities, and it's working. But would we do it if we didn't get the funds? The answer is no. We thought we would get them. I owe Mr. Fix a fee, and if we get this zoned, he's gonna get his money, because we told him he was gonna get his money, and so that's not part of the contingency. It may delay how much we build. That's a long answer.
Sure.
So.
No, I appreciate
I
that.
will add, Brady Flint is online, Zoom call. She can answer any questions.
She's been great, by the way.
And you also do have a memo from her dated December 2nd, 2025 in the package that further details the Virginia Workforce Investment Program grant and how it pertains to the Northwind property.
Those numbers are in there.
Now you just gotta get the 5-year treasury to drop versus prime.
Thank you. I think that's all I've got.
Thank you all very much. Gentlemen, any comments to talk about amongst us? Pretty good. So let's see here. Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone physically present who would like to speak?
There's no one signed up, but we'll recognize anyone in the audience that'd like to speak on this public hearing.
I don't see anybody. Let's try Zoom and phone.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak during the public hearing for the Fix Fralin application, excuse me, please raise your hand now. Not seeing any. I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, so if there are no objections, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. I don't see any reason to push the public hearing to the next planning commission meeting. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? It seems like this looks like a really a project that the county needs, and the location is good. We got a reputable developer. VDOT will take care of their portion of it, and they'll follow the height codes and the parking codes and all the other government regulations that will will fall on them. So we're going to close the public hearing. You guys good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. No further comments. We close the public hearing.
Oh, Chris and Chair, sorry, this is Brady Flint. You
again, we
do
can-
have a hand raised.
Yep. Up. We will. Is it too late? Can we?
No, it's Brandy.
Good stuff.
We couldn't hear you, Brandy, but I
Sorry, apologies. And I'm sorry I'm not there tonight. I'm working from home. Bob Ferguson has a hand raised and it was raised before you closed the public hearing.
okay, perfect. And somehow we're getting a lot of feedback, so let me bear with me here. Can you turn that up?
Sorry I'm not there tonight.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Ferguson,
Ferguson.
you have the floor.
Yes, I live on Route 11 North on both the east side and the west side of Route 11. My farm butts up to this development, and I would like to know what the buffer plans are between the property that you want to develop and my property. West side of Route 11. My farm butts up to this development, and I would buffer plans are between the property that you want to develop and my property.
And I apologize, we got the gist of the question, but there's some terrible feedback on our end.
I think she's asking about a buffer. Yeah, I
yes.
didn't catch the location of the buffer.
Is the very top of the page. That's
So right there on the back side.
If you can hear us. Yes, so if you go to the
in your phase 3.
if you go to the concept plan, she would be, it's under now formerly Betty A. Ferguson and Robert Ferguson trustee. It's identified as tax parcel 62-A-39. And while there is it appears to be a 20-foot buffer on that side per the per the landscaping regulations, the only required buffer is between the single family dwellings and the townhouses, and that would be on the west side of the property. However, the proffer is to substantially, develop the property in general conformance of this, and it does show a similar buffer on the what I'm calling the north side between the Ferguson property and the proposed phase 3 is where it would be.
And if I'm correct, my understanding is the public hearing is closed. Is that correct, Chris?
It was, but Ms. Ferguson had her hand up before we closed it.
Okay.
Yes.
The public hearing is not closed.
The question is what type of buffer is proposed or required between the proposed development and the Betty tax map number 62-A-39. That's the Ferguson property to the north of your current property. It's north of phase 3. Yes, that's correct.
What is that buffer? Is it arborvitae or?
It would not be arborvitae. There's some requirements on the buffer, the types
Okay.
of buffer that it would be.
Okay.
I do not on the concept.
Power line runs through that field, right? You're talking about when you're going down 11, you see that power line run through the field?
sorry, and I'm standing in your way. It's people online can't hear you at all.
So there's a power line. There's a power line that runs through here. There's one that runs through here, and there's another one that runs through here. So there's a certain area here that he cannot plant anything because this will come through and cut it down. Now, if this line's been abandoned, if it's not needed, but there was a power line that ran through here. I don't know if it's, I can't see this because I can't on the glasses, but there's a 3-phase power line that runs right here, this whole length. And I don't remember if it goes up the hill or not, but if I remember correctly, there's a power line that comes over here. Well, it's right along in here because it comes over to feed this building. So there's only so much buffer he can plant under that power line. We can't plant anything under the power line.
So it would, what Mr. Fix is saying, there's power lines. There could be some power lines that interfere with the buffer, but that will have to be worked out. It's a 20-foot buffer. And so whether that's outside the utility right of way, usually they're 30-foot right of way associated with the utility line, not transmission line, obviously, but utility.
But there is a buffer plan for that spot with the exception.
There, according to the concept plan, yes, there's a buffer on the west side that's required. And there's also a buffer on the north side between tax parcel, the Ferguson track, I'll call it, and that's zoned AT at this time.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the width of that buffer?
The width of the buffer on per the concept plan is approximately 20 feet.
So that means that the trees would be left during that, left in that 20-foot area.
Either trees would be left in that 20-foot area or would be replanted in a buffer consistent with the County of Rockbridge land development regulations.
Okay, well, of course, I would rather have the trees stay there because that's what I'm used to, and that will
Understood. Her
keep me
comment, and I
from-
apologize, y'all can't hear. The comment was she would prefer the trees to stay there versus cut down and replanted. Understood.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you for your participation. Yeah. Okay, is there anybody else there, Chris?
No, and there's no hands raised.
Apologize for the confusion, but we're going to close the public hearing again after that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yep, yep. Any internal discussion, gentlemen?
I'm sure y'all looked into it, but another quick question. I'm sorry, I should have asked it before, but the sewer line that runs through, has there been an analysis done that it won't need upgrading, upsizing?
That is correct. I can confirm
It's an 8-inch sewer line.
if you could come up and talk
It's an
to.
8-inch sewer line. So plenty of capacity. I went through that. Like I said in 99, it's way more capacity than it's a 6-inch water line coming in, which is also much more than
Thank you.
Thank
the bottling plant and his.
Thank you, John. Okay. Again, I think it's a great thing for the county. Do we have anybody who'd like to make a motion or say anything else before we make a motion?
We usually have pre-prepared motions for you. In this case, we do not. I apologize. It's something we failed to do. But if it's a consensus of the planning commission, you would just move to recommend approval of the fix Fralin application to the board of supervisors with acceptance of the proffers.
Do we vote on that to make a recommendation, I assume?
Yes, it would be a formal motion. Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
To recommend approval of the fix Fralin application with the acceptance of the proposed proffers.
Recommend.
What he said.
Yeah.
What he
Fixed
said.
Fralin
What you said?
application with the
With
acceptance of the profit.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is unanimous to turn it over to the board of supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
I just want to say thank you for your time. And if you need anything from me, I'm easy to find. We're easy to find. Call us. We want to be open book. What Wynn didn't tell you is when she was asked to run the management business, she was sitting on Ocean Isle Beach, day 2. And
Thank you all for your,
Thank
your professional presentations. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Okay. I think we'll just keep moving. We're going to do two zoning text amendments. The first one is disclosure of real parties of
Yes,
interest.
I'll take, if you want to take the lead, yes.
An interest of-
Mr. Dryden has worked on this, so he's going to take the lead on the discussion.
John, floor is yours.
This is something we had discussed in the past as to what the statute was 15.2/2289, which empowers localities to pass an ordinance which requires disclosure of equitable owners and real parties of interest for special exceptions, the variances, et cetera, within the ordinance language. We list the ones that are there. As we discussed last time, my initial views on this was that let us go through everything to see even applicants, even developers who the ultimate owners are, going back. Terms I used to use in my old career is beneficial owners, the ones that actually really own and control. My view of this changed when I read it, because the language talks specifically about the equitable owners of the property. So it focuses on the land, which would be subject to the whatever zoning action would take place. After some discussion with several of you, including Commissioner Sabrizi, and actually with Bill Russell's here today, looked into it a bit deeper, and with Chris also. And I feel that we actually have a little more flexibility than I thought before, meaning that we clearly can, for the owners of the property, the equitable owners of the property, and I can't come to the view that a developer is an equitable owner unless they actually have, a true ownership interest in the property. I don't think that's supported by law, and equitable ownership is a very well-developed legal concept. However, the concept, parties,
Can you
real
hold on a
parties.
minute?
No, okay, sure. So the real parties of interest, also, if we read the statute, they refer to equitable owners and real parties of interest separately. And that gave me a feeling for we have a little more flexibility here. When it refers to equitable ownership, that's where you have the language in the statute, which lets us look back through the actual party who owns it to who's back behind there. For real parties of interest, we don't have that section. The language doesn't apply to that, but I do believe, after looking at things closer and seeing what other localities do, that a lessee, for example, a developer, for example, that anyone who has some sort of interest in the zoning of the property can be considered a real party of interest, and we can ask for who those individuals are. Now, my position still is that we cannot go ask them to and those real parties of interest, those who are not equitable owners, we cannot go through and ask for who the ultimate owner is. That's not, the statute doesn't give us that authority. That only applies to equitable owners. So I drafted the ordinances before you that we're asking for a scheduling of a public hearing to consider this, is drafted as broadly as I think we're allowed to under law, which would then require not only the disclosure of the owner of the property and the equitable owners. And equitable owners would be like, if it's a trust, the beneficiaries and the trustees would be examples of that. Another example of an equitable owner would be someone who's buying the property under an installment contract, where they're technically not the legal owner, but however they've paid quite a bit in there, so they're close to being the owner. Therefore, they should be disclosed who they are. And if it's an LLC, we should know going through them. If it's a corporation, we go through them as long as they're not a publicly listed corporation with more than 500 shareholders. That's a standard way to say no. That will stop there. There is some language in there saying that it would, and this is not required by the statute, but which most other ordinances have, where we are actually asking for 10% owners. So if it's an LLC, we're looking at someone who owns 10% or more in it. So if there's an LLC with 100 members and two of them are two grannies down the road, we're not asking for them. We're asking for the ones that have more control. So that's the language that's presented before you. So what it would do again would be for anyone with an ownership interest, an equitable ownership interest, we would ask, and we will require a disclosure back to the actual people. No matter how many levels, we have to go back to the actual people that are involved. And for the other parties that would be considered real parties of interest, developers or lessees, we ask for actually who the party is. The statute doesn't enable us to go back to who's behind them.
Thank you for that, John. I don't see why we wouldn't do it as a county. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
I like to, I mean,
Did a good- they
Bill's
did a-
here. Bill brought it up
Yep.
at one of the very early solar, and it's been
It's good.
rolling
isn't it?
around
That's
here
good.
for a while.
And
and-
this is, I mean, as you're saying, I mean, I started looking at this because Bill initially brought this to our attention and then said, well, look, let's
And-
look at this and see what it is. Yeah, that's correct.
So I mean, I do too. I guess I'm going to go to the next step, and we think we need is how do we collect that information? The ordinance isn't going to.
Now, if you look at the ordinance, it authorizes the zoning administrator to create a form. And there's several forms, several jurisdictions within the Commonwealth have adopted this. And some of them have some quite detailed forms. And, you know, I put together some just draft ones that aren't ready to share, but it won't be that difficult. And the first step is to get an ordinance to see if we're willing to do that. And then there would be a form that could be easily prepared, which would cover everything. And I assume, Chris, is this something you'd normally, if the planning commission wants, that we could have a draft form for the next meeting?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, and I'm not sure if I forwarded you the draft form that I did.
I believe you did one,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so that's what, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be refined with it, but there's, at least we have a
Next
general
step
idea.
would be to take it to a public hearing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Would
So-
just
And just.
based on what we were doing today, and
Yeah.
not to get into the individuals here, but I mean, this is one of the reasons why I think Chris suggested it be not just solar specific. Is it would we be able to ask information of?
Well, it's by law, we couldn't make it solar specific. But the statute states the list that there's, but solar would fall within there. You can ask what you want. The developer would not have to disclose. The landowner, I say, for example, if you look at the properties around there, the landowners are like LLCs and stuff of that nature. You would have the right, the application would have to include who the ultimate owners are. And
But the developer of the property, that's the thing that.
now, developer of the property, you can know the name of the developer and you can ask for them to who actually owns it, but we are not allowed by the statute to ask who.
All right, now I'm
who that
confused
is.
again.
What's that?
Now I'm confused again.
Well, no, it's slightly broader than what we talked about, 2 weeks ago or so?
Yeah.
We were talking about it because before my initial view was that we only look at the owner of the property.
Right.
But because real parties of interest, if you read the statute carefully, real parties of interest is not necessarily tied into, Chris and I went over this quite closely. Real parties of interest is not necessarily tied into the equitable owner. Yeah, so there's actually two things. An equitable owner is a real party of interest, but I'm comfortable to take the view that the real party of interest is broader, which would then include, for example, a lessee. It would then include a developer who has an interest in the development of the property.
So based on whatever their agreement would be, if John were to set up a lease on the land and they would be the tenant of the property, then you could dive in. If it's saying that
well,
it's
we can ask.
instead of Fralin, it's done by whatever that name is, LLC, and then you think Fralin, you can then dissect from the LLC.
The only time we can go back further is if they fall within the equitable owner concept. If it's equitable owner concept, we are requiring by this ordinance that they go all the way through, subject to the 10% ownership rule and the listed company exceptions. Other than that, they have to go all the way back through, no matter what type of structure is in place. And so that could go back if it's owned by some firm in the Cayman Islands. You have to go to the Cayman Islands and then back to see who's behind that. That's how it would work. Now, but for the developer, though, the developer is a real party of interest because they have an interest in this being developed. However, the statute does not grants the authority to look through for equitable owners. Therefore, we're drafting this as broadly as I believe the statute allows to. So the real party of interest who are not equitable owners, we can ask who they are, but we're not authorized by the statute to ask who their parent is or who their ultimate owner is. We cannot require that to be disclosed for purpose of this. You can ask, but we cannot require that disclosure.
Using an example, let's go back to where it first came up. I think when Bill brought it up during the Warm Run Solar thing. If Warm Run Solar LLC came and presented over here,
we could only ask. We could
Wouldn't
not
know
ask-
anything about
we-
SunTribe.
We could not require them to divulge
SunTribe.
their, well, even beyond SunTribe. You're right, not SunTribe and not who the ultimate owner of SunTribe
okay,
is.
so, I mean, that, to me, that
This
would have
takes
been
us-
the value of this whole thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
what I was looking for out of it.
Yeah, no, I understand. I
I'm
understand.
still in supportive of it. What it is, I'm just saying is it
It's not,
It's
it's not, it's
disappointing
not,
that,
yeah, it's not what we initially thought it was. That's right. But it is, my personal view on this is that it provides it. This is the mechanism that the legislature has given us to gather as much information as we can. And if we do not pass this ordinance, we don't have the legal right to ask who sits behind the trust or the LLC which owns a piece of property.
Now, using that example as well, the warm sun, if I remember correctly, the property owner was a trustee, was a trust.
Yeah, and in that situation.
And we never did actually figure out who was in the
And
trust.
now, if we adopt this ordinance, then they're required to disclose as part of the process. And if they do not disclose, it's an incomplete application and it doesn't need to be processed.
But that would be the trustees, not the benefactors.
No, you go, beneficiaries are also equitable.
Okay, all right, just
So
checking.
you-
'Cause
so
I know
you-
there's
you'd- and if-
layers there.
And if the beneficiary is an LLC, then you can look through the LLC to get to a real person.
Okay.
That's how it's drafted, with subject to the few limitations we mentioned.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
we
you.
have, Chairman,
If they let.
can we ask Bill to make any comments?
Bill, would you like to step up? Is it okay, Chris? I think it's fine. Come on, Bill. Thank you for your participation and your, yeah.
One, I'd like to see this happen because actually it goes back to volcano when I first brought this up. But the reality is that there is a fairly strong possibility at this point that the General Assembly may remove some of the solar jurisdiction. You might want to wait to see what they do. Because if they do, and they turn it over to the Utilities Commission, the Utilities Commission does require the developer to disclose a lot of beneficial ownership information. Things that I don't, and I agree with John, that aren't required at the level that you're looking at.
What would be
You
the
could
benefit?
do
What would
this
be the benefit?
safely, But it just may not make.
What would be the benefit of waiting though, Bill? Is there something else we could capture, at that point? Because I see this as still beneficial.
Yeah, so if they turn it over to that commission, it's a way to bypass, isn't it a way to bypass?
But you're talking
local
just solar though, right?
Yes,
But
I mean, there's benefit beyond solar too
Yeah.
with this.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would say common sense is we put it in play. It doesn't hurt anything, and
No,
it
it doesn't hurt
it gives us one more little peek into some of the businesses that come in.
And
So-
we can always amend given whatever changes might come along. But
Thank you, Bill, for your participation. We really appreciate it. So let's, Chris, I guess we set up the public hearing.
It would be a motion to instruct staff to take this
Make
amendment
a
to
motion
public
for
hearing
staff to take this to a public hearing.
at our next meeting.
Yes. At the next meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Tony's, Adam makes the motion. Tony's seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? There are no nays. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Real quick question, since we're going on to solar. So the solar ordinance is what precipitated this real party of interest. So would we want to make sure this goes through? Let's say the solar ordinance gets approved before this does. So would this come into play after the fact?
One more, well, this is what we just did is for special exceptions and map
Overall.
rezonings overall. Yes.
So, okay.
Does
Doesn't
that
matter
answer your
which
question?
one comes. Yes.
Yes.
Doesn't matter which one comes.
Yes, that's how I agree with you that as well.
Okay, now it's the solar ordinance discussion.
Yes, and so at last month's meeting, we had a discussion amongst planning commission members, reviewed the draft solar ordinance itself, reviewed some definitions pertaining to the solar ordinance and the public utilities, modifications to the public utilities service, and we broke it out versus major versus minor, defined solar energy projects and defined solar energy projects ground mounted, and then a couple other terms such as solar open areas and agrovoltaics, modified the developer, the definition of developer and operator and owner of solar projects. Amongst consensus of the planning commission, what staff has done since that time is contacted individuals planning commission members as individuals. And I think the consensus even at last month's meeting was to add major to the special exceptions for A1. Have it as a, of course, and I can go by each one if it's beneficial, but in agricultural and limited use districts, A1, the original proposal was to have minor as a permitted use, and we did not have the major as a use by special exception. But again, I think at last month's meeting and certainly with the consensus of the individual conversations, we want to add major under the A1 zoning district.
As a conditional.
As a use by special exception. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, discussion. I was fine with the definitions, Chris, after we reviewed it later. David, Tony, comments?
Well, I'll reiterate, I think very similar to what we were just talking about with the real parties of interest. I think the public utility major and minor change is something that's independent of solar, and I would like to separate them. That being said, I did make some other suggestions to Chris. I think they share a question for, if I was to prepare something like I sent to Chris, I sent it to him last week. Is there a problem with sending it to the rest of the commission? I mean, it's be like us.
I would suggest when you send emails to commission members that you don't, as long as people don't hit reply all, there is a slight risk that if you have a conversation going back with reply all the time, that's a meeting. But you can send to all commission members, but I would suggest that you don't hit reply all when you respond individually. You just respond individually.
I mean, I've been hesitant doing that because of the two-person rule and.
No, that's perfectly okay. Just, and even frankly, if you hit reply all, it takes a good bit to get to the level of being considered a meeting, but every attorney from a conservative basis says just don't hit reply all. So you can send them out to everybody, but when you respond individually. It's the safest.
I mean, sometimes for me, it's, I'm thinking and I'm writing and then I said, last week I sent this to Chris. I knew I was going to be out of pocket most of this week. So I wanted to get it to him, but I would have been nice if I just hit everybody else and then you could see what, and Chris and I have not had this conversation on this other than what we had the last meeting. So I, again, reiterate the fact is that I think we could separate them. I'm not talking about timing them differently, but separate them. But I did have some suggestions and I don't know, Chris, you can respond to them. The term public in public utility in some of my research could be problematic because public utility is generally considered, even though you got service at the end of it, public utility is generally considered from the, I think the SCC, Dominion, Bark, those types of places. So we're really looking to, my recommendation is drop the word public, utility service major, utility service minor. I think it serves the same purpose and it keeps you avoid that. So that was one of the things that I had suggestion. In fact, if you look at the things, I don't know if you sent that to everybody.
Yes, you did.
Not mine, but in the thing that you sent me with the ones that you had looked at, two of the counties actually did not use public
You
utility.
mean the
in it.
definitions that we had reviewed?
Yeah, you sent me a list of other counties.
Yeah, absolutely. I could pull those up.
No, you don't need to. I'm just saying Louisa County and Charlotte County did that. And I got a feeling that might've been the reason is that you get in that area of, is a public utility service only those things that are Dominion based, say, in terms of electricity. So I think it serves the same purpose by just dropping the word public and call it utility service. But that's one of my suggestions. Data centers, it's in the definition for major. We did talk about this a little bit. The data center thing, I think is something that's going to bite us in the future, or could potentially. It's elsewhere. Everybody thinks about data centers being up in Northern Virginia and sucking power and water and all that stuff from there. With County is working on one right now, approval of and they're encouraging it. I think that's a definition thing that's buried now in our utilities, the public utilities service major.
And it's currently in our public utilities.
And Yeah, and I think that, the whole idea of a data center definition is, I think it means different things to different people right now. If I have a server room in my house that serves my business, is that a data center? Technically, because we don't go any beyond that, I would hope that that's not something to be regulated in my house. However, one of these big humongous energy suckers, things really should be looked at closely, kind of the way we're looking at solar.
Yep.
right
And we
now.
have a data center. You and I have talked about this. We have a data center in Rockbridge County associated with RANA. And that's the purpose of the Peterson Center on Washington Lee's campus. It's in Rockbridge County. And I'm confident they went through a special exception process when they did that part
But
of it.
does it make sense? I don't know any details of that data center. I mean, is it a building
It is,
that's,
yes.
so I mean, it's something that services themselves.
RANA, the
Yeah,
backbone.
so it's not, right. And again, I don't know. Again, I'm worried about that definition, data center, because of what it means today with AI and Amazon and all the, I mean, we could have next week somebody coming in saying they want to put a data center on the other part of the properties that we've seen before. One of the things I did find some of the research, and I would hope you think this is a idea, is to exempt stuff that's in the right of way. You talked about pumps and lines and not wanting to cover those. If it's going in right of way that's already exists.
We still review them. I mean, going back to your comment on the SEC, there's a certain threshold. Going back to the power, so for example, we obviously have done multiple Dominion Power in the southern part of the county, being the Balcony Falls substation, then from there to Glasgow Highway, and then from there to Buena Vista, if you will. That was all done within existing right of way. And did require a special exception. The threshold, this is go by memory, I could be incorrect, but the threshold is 138 kVs. If it's higher than 138 kVs, it's exempt from local zoning. So that's why the Dooms to Lexington that went through probably 10 years ago now, that was a 550 kV line, and it was exempt from local zoning. But the lines that we have seen, again, from Lexington to Turkey Hill, from Balcony Falls all the way to Buena Vista, those are all within existing right of ways, and they were not exempt from local zoning because of the amount of power.
Should they?
The state code that we can't handle that.
No, I mean,
that
should they
general-
be? Well, but we did do the Balcony Falls stuff that.
Yes, and that's per the Code of Virginia. The threshold is 138 kV or less is not exempted from local zoning.
So with my proposal, it would have been exempted by our own ordinance. If you
I'm not
got
sure
that.
if it's not exempt from state code. I'm not sure we can exempt it.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that more. I don't know of any place in the code which grants us the ability to exempt those things. So I'd have to look and see. I mean, we might have it. We do have a lot of power under zoning. That's
We
the
could
one
make
area
it
where
permitted
our-
though. I guess that's really more,
Well, and what I mean by that is I would want to actually research that before I give an answer.
I was, battery storage, battery energy, storage.
Yeah, we talked about that at length, if you will, during the solar committee. And one time we had a draft going that prohibited battery storage. But then I agree with you with your comments here that I passed along to the planning commission. I do think they're separate uses, and I think one of the very next things, and the solar committee talked about this, is have a ordinance for battery storage, and it would be two separate. A lot of times we think of battery storage associated with a solar development, but we've had ideas in Rockbridge County of a battery storage associated with a major transmission line, with a major Turkey Hill substation, if you will, some sort of substation like that. So they're not always associated with they're not always associated with a solar project, but I do agree with the statement that it should be a separate use, regardless if it's associated with the substation we have in Rockbridge County or a proposed solar facility.
Okay, I don't know how, I made these suggestions how they could get incorporated into what we've got right now.
I think both of those would be a next step. I think both of them, because again, we think about what we have currently as under 302.164, the definition of public utilities, what it includes, and then what the proposal is, and they're not that far apart, other than the major and minor. But with that being said, once we enact this ordinance, then we can then work on both the battery storage and then data centers if there's the political will to do either one of them essentially. But I do agree with you that battery storage is separate, is a separate land use, regardless if it's associated with a solar facility or not.
But then, I mean, one thing I didn't put a size, but I mean, sometimes it could be based on a size. Again, if I want to put a battery storage unit at my house or my business, and if it's under a certain size, then
Absolutely. And
be
I don't
permitted.
know those sizes, such as the power transmission
Yeah,
lines, 138.
I put X in there because I found a size, but again, we've done a couple things with the solar ordinance, and I think there's good arguments for that, but we're talking about a quarter of an acre as opposed to a size of the solar deal.
Yes. And that was done on purpose. Yeah.
So we
Ground
could,
mounted, I should say, ground mounted solar arrays.
Right.
so we could direct you in the future, work on a battery ordinance
And data
and
center.
a data center
absolutely.
ordinance, unless we can move forward with the solar. Yeah, how
What
about that?
ab-
How
what-
about
Okay,
that?
well, what
Yeah.
about the drop in public? Do you think that hurts anything?
I don't, let's see here.
And I'd ask you if you think that,
So the other ones,
My rationale is that
public utilities are currently not permitted in C1. We do have water supply. This is permitted, the current language per 601.02-4, water supply building, reservoir wells, elevated tanks, and other similar public utility and service structures. That's a permitted use. And so what we've done is had added minor as a permitted use, and then we added major as a use by special exception.
And if from a legal perspective, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, except for the fact that the word public implies that it's something used not just for, say, on my own house, I put something in there that's done for myself personally. So I think I can't really speak to it, but the one thing that would speak to keeping the word public there, and I'm not saying there's not another way to do it, would be that it implies that this is not, it's a service for the public at large, as opposed to just for an individual or a small group of people, which I think is what we intend, what is why that language is that way. But I have no
well, I mean,
legal concern from a legal point of view. I have no real concern, and I just, Chris would have a better view on what the intent of it is.
oh, and I did, you did bring up the C1. That was changed as well. Why would we not keep it the way it was with the public utility?
Meaning the water
Not
supply.
No. Public utilities are currently not permitted in C1.
Well, yeah, that's correct. The definition of public utility as defined in 302.164 is not listed as a permitted use nor a use by special exception in C1. However, we do have water supply buildings in C1 as a permitted use. Water supply buildings, reservoirs, wells, elevated tanks, and other similar public utility and service structures. So that's fairly broad.
Why wouldn't we not have it in C1? And why would we have it
we
not
do
permitted?
Not
permitted. Right now, public utilities are not permitted. Why wouldn't we make the utility services major not permitted in C1?
They're proposed to be a use by special exception in C1.
But they weren't permitted at all before.
Other than the example of 601.02-4 and other similar public utility and service structures.
I didn't bring my sheet. I laid this out, but another thing too that I mentioned, and this is the way it reads right now, unless you change something, utility service minor should be permitted in B2. But because of the way B1 and B2 reads, it basically says everything in B2 can be B1
B2 is a very, very small portion of Rockbridge County. I can give it probably less than 3 properties that are zoned B2. It is an antiquated part of this Rockbridge County zoning ordinance. And what it states is everything, I'm gonna pull it up. B2 is permitted uses within the planned business district. All uses permitted in the general business district shall be permitted by special exception. So everything's a use by special exception in the B2 zoning district.
No, read it again, because
It says within the planned business district, all uses permitted in the general business district shall be permitted by special exception.
right, but I think minors would not, because of the way that's worded, minors would not be
No,
allowed.
I think you're confusing the all uses permitted. It's not all permitted uses. It's all uses permitted in the general business zoning shall be permitted by special exception. So that would include special exceptions as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I had trouble trying to trace one to the other, and then
It is confusing. And I will say, it's literally the very small portion of Route 39, and I think they're all developed. They are all developed. It would include or no, they rezoned it. I'm sorry. Let me pull up map real quick. It's a very small portion. It's pretty much the Jefferson Forest, the corner of First Mill Road and Route 11 is B2, very small sliver, and then some small properties across the street from the Virginia Horse Center, which I think they're all developed now. And I want to say the
it's still,
co-op
I mean, it
rezoned
doesn't matter whether it's an acre or 100 acres. It still could, someone might come in and rezone it, and then we could have rezoning. Again, I'm the number.
rezoning to B2.
I'll drop.
Okay.
I'll drop it.
I think your last comment, which was touched base on at the beginning of the discussion, was public utilities currently permitted in special exception in A1. The draft should not permit utility service major in A1.
You changed that, you said.
Yes.
Okay,
We,
yeah.
yes. Yeah. That's the latest draft. Major by special exception, I should say.
Right.
Yes.
David, any comments?
No, I think we're ready to go finally after.
Adam, you're
I'm
good.
good. I'm good
Okay.
with everything.
Tony? Okay.
Make a motion to bring the draft solar ordinance to the January 14th, 2026 meeting for
Okay,
public hearing.
I'm sorry. I guess I can't do it now, right?
We can
There's
we
no
can have
second.
further
I
discussion.
just- I mean,
Could I add to your
we-
motion the definitions as well?
I mean, the chair can
Can you give me the
recognize
floor?
you. if
Yeah,
he
you need
wants
the
to.
floor back, Tony.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got comments this past week from the only person still in the audience. I was wondering if Chris could make some comments on some of those as well.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And I actually
Yep.
have those saved under tonight's planning commission. Let me first, in fact,
Thank you for doing that, Tony.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had it in front of me, but
let's see here if I can pull them up so the public can see them as well. Yes. So Mr. Russell submitted these to the Planning Commission and staff, the Office of Community Development staff. Happy to go over them. These were comments, public comments on the draft solar energy ordinance. And I'll just go through the list. Number one, the county should require a complete application before any public hearing is advertised. And I did not have the opportunity to go by one with Mr. Russell. Happy to do that after the meeting or sometime. We do have to deem applications complete prior to passing them along to the Planning Commission. So I'll have to get some more insight on that. Number two.
when you, I thought this was a very good question because I kind of, when someone, they go down to the one room or one window down there, right? And they submit an application.
Which one? No, they submit it directly to our office.
So they go right to your office.
Absolutely, yes.
And do you ever return it back to them and say, no, you got to do better than this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're working on one now that was, yeah, absolutely. We do that. Yeah.
So at some point you stamp it.
If it goes to y'all, it says been deemed complete by the Office of Community Development.
Okay.
That's correct. once it's forwarded to the planning commission, it has been deemed complete. The county should require on-load posting of all application materials. I would say we post at least 90% of the materials we get. So I'm happy to address some of these expand upon some of these ideas with Mr. Russell. The ordinance should require full disclosure of all rights of ways, easements, encumbrance, and recorded constraints. Well, we could look at that and work on that as far as what language is currently required for a special exception. Strengthen the decommissioning plan and surety requirements. I'll have to talk with them one-on-one. In my personal opinion, we have a very strong section on decommissioning and surety. A lot of it's obviously based on state law. Require VDOT coordination prior to the public hearing. That is done. We have not had one solar developer or solar project come back and say, hey, VDOT has changed their mind and we can't have a commercial entrance permit at this location. So that's done. Require a evaluation of cumulative impacts, excuse me. I'm not sure what that means on that one. And we can have Mr. Russell speak to that if the chair so desires. Expand public notice to near neighbors and not only adjacent owners. We follow state law on that, and it's with a special exception. In order to hold a public hearing, we are required to do all adjoining owners, exactly what state law says. And I would not like to be the one put in the position where we start to quantify what a near neighbor is. And it also has to do, some of it's first class mail, but if it's over 25, I think is the threshold. If it's over 25, then we have to do first class mail.
Can I ask a question on something that happened in terms of I noticed the sign for the zoning change for the one we had tonight.
Yes,
was out on Route 11.
that's correct.
And I know Neil and I talked about this, the kennel that we did, the zoning sign was way at the end of that private road that went into the kennel. Why wouldn't it have been put on? I mean, what's the
kennel,
rule?
are you talking about the dog training facility?
Yes.
So that was done on the public road as well. So I don't think there's any.
I didn't see it. I
was-
drive that several times a week, and I never saw it on Route 11, or even on the
Which kennel are
public
you
road.
talking about?
The kennel.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vegan. The one I was out of the office on that one. It's a call, if you will. And if it has direct access, I apologize. I thought you were talking about the Harding application,
No,
and that was posted on the VDOT right of way. Usually, we will post them on the VDOT right of way. And you're exactly correct, because I took down that particular
I mean,
sign.
that goes to that comment though, is in lieu of telling the near neighbors, at least people are gonna see
and
it.
that was brought up in detail, if you will, during the warm run, and the comment was, a lot of people don't know about this, and I've never gone through a controversial public hearing in Rockbridge County where people after the fact, during the construction or even after the board of supervisors acted on it, said, man, I knew nothing about this. That hasn't happened in my professional experience with Rockbridge County.
But that Beacon property, I remember driving down the lane. I got down that
Absolutely.
lane probably half a mile and said, it can't be down here because I'd
Where?
never seen a sign.
Yes.
And the sign must obviously.
It was
down
on the
further.
property, yes.
And-
And so in that case, that's a little bit unusual because it's actually Route 11. I would not have put that on Route 11 because you could have put it on Sandstone Lane because the Route 11 has an intersection of two public roads and then a private road.
And it wasn't even at the.
It wasn't even at the
public road.
intersection of the private road. I'm with you.
But I'm saying like, that's a way of people knowing about it other than sending it to the near neighbors.
For sure,
I got
yes.
that.
Require beneficial ownership disclosure. We went through that this evening. We did piggyback that on the solar ordinance, and we do require a notification of a change of operator or owner, and that's why we defined those two things. Conflict of interest safeguards. Again, COIA is very detailed. Mr. Dryden can speak to that if needed. We'll have to get some expansion on the thought of the safeguards with the COIA. Battery energy storage systems. Again, we talked about that this evening, and we talked about that at the solar committee, and we talked about that previously at the planning commission. And I do think there are two different uses for sure. And I think there's a lot of merit to expand, have that as a separate use. regardless if it's associated with solar or if it's associated with the substation. They're getting more common associated with the substation, in my experience. And then Mr. Russell's here, of course, if the chair would like him to expand upon some of these
Bill,
things.
would you like to expand on any of that?
I know you all have done a lot of work on this, and the committee put in a lot of work on this. I've just been reading some materials with regard to decommissioning plans and the requirement for public notice on decommissioning plans. And I think we've got a gap there in the county. The decommissioning plans generally have not been available to the public.
They're included in every application. That there was one that you stated that it wasn't in there, and it was indeed in there. Every application we had.
At the time of the public notice for
Absolutely.
the meeting?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Couldn't find it, so that could be me. The right of ways, I don't understand people doing business and walking in here with, on both parties, with no understanding of what right of ways are on the property that they're bringing before the commission and the board. I think it needs to be clear to them that it's their responsibility, and they can't say, "Oh, we forgot," as an excuse. The near neighbors one, I'm going to send some materials to John. In 2023, there's a Virginia State Supreme Court case that expanded the considerations, and the considerations group. General public was given more consideration for their ability to participate. Near neighbors fall somewhere between that and adjoining neighbors. But it looks to me, and that's just my opinion, as to it's probably a wise decision on the part of the parties to notify the near neighbors, because I think they may have a legitimate standing to come in and file. A lot of this was just kind of things I thought was just cleaning up some things. The VDOT, I think we can get people come in here and they discuss their applications, and it's clear that they have not talked to VDOT, or they don't talk to them while they got conditions on that they haven't dealt with. I don't know if I want to get too specific about that, but we've got one right now. As a process point, it may be easier for the county. People walk in here.
Mr. Russell, if you wouldn't mind
and a
speaking. into the
complete
mic.
application included at least a preliminary discussion with VDOT. Because you've got in Warm Run right now a situation where VDOT shut down operations out there because they were blocking traffic. They hadn't talked to them about what they needed to do, and they're not really happy. I shouldn't speak for them, but there's consideration there that was fairly important.
So they had preliminary conversations. In fact, they had a email from the resident engineer pertaining to the Warm Run entrance and its capability of getting a commercial entrance permit.
Apparently they can't so far. They have not gone back to them. And that's a condition that is placed on that.
Absolutely, yes.
application.
Yes, as far as the final condition contingent upon VDOT X, Y, and Z.
And they were able to directly tell the parties that were out there working and bringing in equipment, they couldn't block the road. That road wasn't sufficient to do what they wanted to do. And they told them to get out.
VDOT did. So I can have a follow-up conversation with VDOT and report back for sure.
So, sounds like there's some coordination at VDOT that didn't happen too, but
I think
if they
VDOT
said yes and then they said no,
I think VDOT's just waiting to hear from
thank you, Bill.
Perfect.
Chris, are you, all right,
That concluded the 1 through 10 list.
okay. All right, any more discussion? Would someone like to make a motion about the zoning
So
text
there was an
amendment?
open motion on the floor. Does that need to
Well,
be?
I don't,
You have a motion? Somebody had it.
David had a motion, but
Yeah.
then
We,
Continued the discussion.
You have to
might be
restate it.
appropriate
Second.
to, if you want to make that motion again.
Okay, I make a motion to bring the zoning text amendment solar ordinance to public hearing for the January 14th, 2026 commission meeting,
would that include definitions, David?
including definitions.
and I'll second.
We have a motion by David and a second by Adam. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries unanimously to take this to move forward. Let's move forward.
Perfect. We appreciate that.
I just realized something. I didn't get the minutes approved, did I? The minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah.
You
Did I
did.
do that already? All right, never mind. Forgive me.
Motion
Aye.
to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.